Matthew 24 is one of the most talked about chapters in the Bible. It's quoted in sermons, it's used in end times videos, it's often connected to fear, urgency, and predictions, and for a lot of people it leaves the same impression. This sounds important, but also overwhelming. If you've ever read Matthew 24 and felt anxious, confused, or unsure what you were supposed to do with it, you're not alone. And here's the important part. Matthew 24 isn't confusing because it's unclear. It's confusing because it's usually read too fast and without context. So in this video, we're going to slow everything down and walk through it step by step. No assumptions and no timelines, just what the passage actually says and why it's so often misunderstood. Before we talk about misreading, we need to understand the situation. Matthew 24 is a conversation. Jesus is leaving the temple in Jerusalem with his disciples. As they're walking, the disciples point out the buildings. How impressive they are. Jesus responds by saying something shocking. Not one stone here will be left on another. That alone would have been unsettling. So later the disciples come to Jesus privately and ask him questions. And this is crucial. They don't ask one simple question. They ask multiple questions at once. Matthew 24:3 records it like this. When will this happen? What will be the sign of your coming? And of the end of the age? Already you can see the problem forming. Different questions, different ideas, all asked in one moment. This is where many misunderstandings begin. One of the biggest reasons Matthew 24 is misread is because people treat all of Jesus' answers as if they're addressing one single event. But Jesus doesn't respond that way. He speaks carefully, he moves between ideas, and he sets limits. For example, early in the chapter, Jesus talks about wars, famines, earthquakes, and unrest. These verses are often quoted during crises. But Jesus immediately says something that's usually skipped. See that you are not alarmed. These things must happen, but the end is not yet. That line matters. Jesus is explicitly telling his listeners, these events will happen, but they are not a signal to panic, and they are not proof that the end has arrived. When people rush through this chapter, they miss that clarification. And when that clarification is missed, fear fills the gap. Another reason Matthew 24 is misread is because parts of it sound urgent. There is strong language, there are warnings, there are commands to pay attention. So readers assume that this must be about something happening right now. But urgency does not automatically mean immediacy. Much of Jesus' teaching here is about being prepared, not being deceived, not overreacting, remaining faithful over time. That's different from saying, this is happening next. When those two ideas get blurred, people start reading the chapter like a countdown instead of a conversation. Matthew 24 also moves between near and far concerns. Jesus talks about events that would affect the disciples' generation. He also speaks more broadly about the future. The text itself doesn't always label these transitions clearly, so readers often collapse everything into one timeline. That leads to confusion because some details don't fit neatly together. Different readers emphasize different verses. Certainty gets claimed where the text is layered. The problem isn't that the Bible is unclear. The problem is that we want it to behave like a modern checklist, and it doesn't. Later in Matthew 24, Jesus gives illustrations. He talks about days of Noah, people going about normal life. One person taken, another left. These lines are often treated as technical descriptions, but they are illustrations, not diagrams. They are meant to emphasize suddenness, unpredictability, normal life continuing. When illustrations are treated like blueprints, confusion is guaranteed. Jesus is warning against false confidence, not giving a sequence of events. So why does Matthew 24 create so much anxiety? Because it's often quoted in pieces, read emotionally, forced into modern frameworks, rushed toward conclusions. When that happens, people walk away thinking, I don't understand this, and maybe I'm not supposed to. But that's not the goal of the passage. Matthew 24 isn't meant to make readers afraid. It's meant to make them steady, watchful, not panicked, thoughtful, not obsessed, faithful, not frantic. If Matthew 24 has ever made you uneasy, that doesn't mean you failed to understand it. It usually means you were taught to read it too quickly. This chapter requires context, patience, careful attention to what Jesus actually says, and what he doesn't say. You don't need a timeline to read it well. You don't need certainty where the text doesn't give it. You just need to slow down. Because when Matthew 24 is read carefully, it doesn't increase fear, it reduces it, and it invites readers not to predict the future, but to live faithfully in the present.